Welcome to Louisville Focus. On this edition, we're going to focus on Louisville originals. If you happen to have a sweet tooth, then you may know about the Majeska, which started downtown at Muth's. We'll pay them a visit. And how about Kern's Kitchen? You know where I'm going with that. We're going to try a slice of Derby pie. But right now we find ourselves at the very grandiose Brown Hotel, and you guessed it, we're going to try the delicious, the decadent, the very filling hot brown. It's a very popular topic of conversation, and that is, what is your favorite meal? What is your favorite dish? Well, before you answer that question, have you had the Louisville Original Hot Brown? Once again, we are here at the Brown Hotel, and speaking of Louisville Originals, we have Mr. Mark Salmon with us, who is not only the Director of Human Resources, but he is also the Brown Hotel's historian. Mark, welcome in.
Great to be here, John.
Okay, before we get to the good stuff, the delicious stuff, let's talk a little bit about this hotel and its history, because it's a rich history as well.
Absolutely, and you are in a big part of that history right here in the English Grill, our signature fine dining room. The room is as it appeared when we first opened in 1923. Opened by J. Graham Brown himself, a real Louisville original.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, Mark. You were telling me that, and although we don't have to mention hotels, but let's just say that Mr. Brown was chased out of a hotel back in the day, and he decided, you know what, if they're not going to be nice to me, I'll build my own, right?
Absolutely. So one morning back in 1922, Mr. Brown had been playing a little poker all night with his friends, happened into one of our competitors' hotels down the street, and they gave him the bum's rush. The bellman didn't let him in the building.
Been there.
They gave him the bum's rush. And Mr. Brown owned this piece of property at the time. Sitting here was the home of Theodore Sulger, a confectioner. Tore the building down, built this hotel in 10 months, if you can believe that, brick by hand, in 10 months, over 600-room hotel, built in 10 months at a cost of just under $4 million.
Wow, and it remains absolutely gorgeous. Okay, now let's talk about the main topic. Speaking of rich history, and I do mean literally rich, the hot brown. It is famous worldwide, but would you consider it a Southern dish? Wouldn't you say so?
I would consider it a real Louisville original.
There we go.
And a Southern dish, featured in a lot of great cookbooks and publications all throughout the South.
Okay, so how did it start? Obviously, with the name Hot Brown, Brown Hotel, Mr. Brown, who you mentioned.
Absolutely.
That's how it originated, but let's talk about how it was created.
Absolutely. So here we are back in 1926. We used to host these dances here till the wee hours of the morning. And when the band would go on break, all the revelers would descend down here upon the restaurant, and what did they order? Ham and eggs. Ham and eggs was the popular dish to order in 1926. Well, our original chef, Fred Schmidt, got tired of serving the same old ham and eggs. So he invented this dish, a hot open-faced turkey sandwich featuring this delicate Mornay sauce, and it instantly became a Louisville staple, a Louisville tradition, and has remained the same and untouched since 1926.
So with all this popularity of these food shows and the Food Network, etc., he was ahead of his time. He said, I'm going to do something creative. Give me some ingredients that I can find in the refrigerator and pull, and let me do something really creative that people will love. So without going into the ingredients yet,
Okay.
How was it received?
Immediately received well, and we started seeing every once in a while people will send us bits and pieces from old cookbooks and stuff like that. It got picked up right away and has remained intact, remained the same, and it has to for many years. You know, I was telling you before, whenever we hire a chef around here, we tell them you can mess with a lot of things, but can't change the hot brown.
I love that, because you're exactly right. It's right for a reason. Yeah, you can have a variation, but it's not going to taste the same as a Louisville original hot brown. Okay, ingredients. Let's go, Mark.
Okay, so we're going to start with a layer of Texas toast with the crust trimmed off. First of all, we're going to serve it in a ceramic skillet. So it's going to be nice and warm and bubbly when it comes to the table. It comes right out of the oven, right to the guest. So we're going to start with this, we're going to start with that ceramic skillet. We're going to layer in Texas toast with the crust trimmed off. 7 ounces of hand-carved turkey breast. Not meat slicer turkey, not deli turkey, hand-carved turkey breast, 7 ounces. Then we're going to come with that Mornay sauce, that warm, bubbly sauce. Butter, flour, heavy cream, here come the calories, pecorino romano cheese. We're going to top it off with 2 slices of applewood smoked bacon, and we're going to add a little tomato to the dish. We're going to add 4 wedges of tomato to add a little acidity to the dish. I'm going to top it off with a little Parmesan, a little parsley, and the secret ingredient in the sauce, not so secret ingredient because we tell everybody, is a pinch of ground nutmeg. Adds a little bit to the flavor of the sauce.
Ooh, okay, so now you know one of the secret ingredients here. Oh no, actually you know all of the ingredients. So tell me a little bit about now how it is received. Are there guests who come back and that's a staple? I'm going to order that hot brown. I would think during Derby time they want to celebrate traditions and experience them. How is it received today, I guess is what I'm asking.
Absolutely, and you know, it's funny that in the old days how a dish got popularity was in newspapers and cookbooks. Now it's on blogs. All these blogs come out. There was a thing that came out a couple of weeks ago, 53, I don't know how they come up with these numbers, 53 things you need to eat in the United States before you die was the name of it.
Okay,
And,
okay,
and
I like
it was
this.
every city's famous dish. And of course, we were on it. You know, not that long ago, I was wandering around a bookstore. I opened up a book of 100 things to do in Louisville, Kentucky. And what was on page 1? Us. You know,
What a compliment.
have a hot brown at the Brown Hotel. Every night we have to keep a few tables open because we get a lot of walk-ins. We get people that stay in other hotels. And we get people who saw us on Man vs. Food, or they might have seen us on Top Chef. And they immediately want to come in for a hot brown, even if they're just passing through the city. We'll valet park for them. They'll come up. You know, good luck driving after that. The dish is good for a nap. There's a lot of turkey in there. And
Good for a nap. I like, so very satisfying. When you see these takeoffs of the hot brown, they're never quite as good, but it's a compliment in a weird, twisted kind of way, because it's like, okay, I can't duplicate it. I'm going to do my own variation. But nothing's better than the original, right?
you got to have the original. You got to come to the originator. You know, it's a dish that other restaurants in Louisville would take a stab at it. And there's Hot Brown Week here, which is great for tourism. So people do have variations on it. And it was interesting when on that season of Top Chef where they went too far off the rails on it, and the judges told them stick to the basics. And so people love to come here and have the real thing. But it's a compliment.
Yeah, well, it is a compliment. Out-of-town guest, and specifically because I think everyone's always interested in celebrities and their tastes. Do you find that some of the celebrities, and you have quite a few who visit the Brown, what is their rating? What do they think when they have a hot brown, an original?
You know, they love it. When the PGA tournament was here, we brought some out to Valhalla, and they got to try them. The late night crew from CBS Sports got to try it. It's not unusual for the celebrities to have us, even if they're just going to dine in their room, have us bring one up for in-room dining. Everybody, you know, it's kind of like you haven't been to Louisville if you haven't tried one.
Ooh, I like that. So if you're watching this on Metro TV, Louisville Originals, and you're thinking, okay, I haven't yet had a hot brown, it's time to do it, but do it at the correct place, which is the Brown Hotel. Okay, I have to ask you, you look like you're pretty mean and lean here, Mark. Do you, every once in a while, partake in a Louisville Original hot brown?
Well, one of our traditions here, you can't work here if you haven't tried one. So we do an orientation class, so about every 2 weeks. Here comes this heavy calorie lunch for me, but you know, it's that's all part of it. I enjoy it with our new staff every time, and a lot of them have never had a hot brown before. And how can you discuss it with people if you haven't tried it, or at least seen it in front of you?
Mark, I have to thank you. You are a fantastic guest, the historian Mark Salmon. So, but as he said, you know, you've got to try one. You don't have to work at the Brown Hotel to try a Louisville Original, which is the hot brown right here at the Brown Hotel.
Hi, I'm Alan Heinzman, chef de cuisine here at the Brown Hotel. And today I'm going to be making our world famous hot brown. We begin this dish with 2 slices of Texas toast, cut like that, very nice and thick and toasty. 2 quarters of a nice vine ripe tomato, 7 ounces of fresh turkey breast roasted. And we top that with our special Mornay sauce. The Mornay sauce is cream, Parmesan cheese, flour, and butter. All the good stuff. And then we'll take that and we'll sprinkle on paprika for color and flavor. At this point, this will go in the oven for about 10 minutes and we'll bake off. Get that into the oven. Then the magic of TV. Have our finished hot brown. And then when it comes out of the oven, we finish it with our shredded Parmesan Reggiano and fresh chopped parsley. And that is our world famous hot brown.
How many of these have you fixed? Have you fixed a few?
Oh, thousands, I would say. During Derby time alone, we serve hundreds and hundreds. The beautiful thing about the hot brown is that if you came in today, you would get the same hot brown that you would get 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. We keep it exactly the same and keep the tradition alive. It's the simplicity of the dish that has kept its popularity for so long.
So Mark, you told me the hotel was built in 1923. And whenever I see a building this grandiose, I always think, you know, they don't build them like this anymore. And they don't. So if you would, tell me some things that are unique about the Brown Hotel.
Absolutely. Everything that you see here is original. The brass teller windows from back when we only had cash paying guests.
Okay.
You'll see Mr. Brown's initial above them. Over here at the front desk, this is where people signed the big guest book back in the day. All of the chandeliers are original from when we opened in 1923. And something kind of interesting here on the marble. If you take a slow walk up to the front desk, you'll notice something.
Okay, you actually had me take that little step over here, and I did notice this. So for folks that come to the Brown Hotel, if you step in here, you're going to feel a little sinking sensation.
A little bit of in 101 years of people checking into this hotel, we have actually formed an impression on the marble.
and probably have done the same because of the long line to experience the hot brown, right?
Absolutely, every time.
Because of our diverse and delicious restaurants, and we have many renowned chefs, Louisville is known as a foodie town, but if you happen to have a sweet tooth, there's a place you have to stop, and that's Muth's since 1921. With me now is Sarah Blazin, and she is a Muth, believe it or not. This is still family owned, right?
It is. I am 4th generation. So we have been in Louisville all 104 years now, and it came down the female side of the family. So we have different last names, but we are all the same family who started the business in 1921.
Businesses often talk about being family owned, but to actually be part of the family and grow up in this environment, delicious candy, what has that done for you and your passion for what you do here?
It's definitely a unique experience. Most people don't grow up in a family business, let alone a candy store. It definitely gives me a unique perspective on, I guess, the importance of kind of building something and maintaining something and appreciating the community around you that keeps you, because we wouldn't be here without the citizens of Louisville and all the people who regularly buy our candy and love us and support us. It really just gives me appreciation for A, the work that we do and all of our staff who make that happen, and B, our customers who, for every generation of us, there's a generation of them. So it really, that's what really keeps us here.
And really a special kind of pride, right, Sarah?
It is. It's a different feeling to know that, like, we make something that so many people love, and so many people, it's a part of their tradition and their holidays and what they want to pass on to their kids.
We talk about make hay while the sun shines, right? Mm-hmm. I would assume Valentine's Day, Easter, Christmas. Talk to me about your holidays and the traffic that you see here.
We're extremely busy from a little before Christmas, so probably prior to Thanksgiving all the way through Derby Day. We do see a lot of out-of-town tourists and visitors the rest of the year, but our bread and butter is definitely made from Thanksgiving to Derby.
Okay, history. So you said 1921, that speaks volumes. But this is kind of a, I don't know, for lack of a better term, it's a romantic, delicious kind of history. So tell me how it started, how the Muths kind of took over the business and kept it what it is today.
Okay, so my great aunt and uncle, Rudy and Isabel, started the business in 1921. They both worked for a local candy company named Bradis and Geens. Louisville used to be one of the largest candy manufacturers in the entire country, the city as a whole. And he went off to World War I as a cook in the Army. He came home. They decided they wanted to open their own shop. And so with the help of her family, I guess as a dowry kind of, they got them the building and some of their equipment to start. And so they started making candy on East Market in 1921. And it's just passed down every generation since.
If it's peppermints or dark chocolate or light chocolate or peanut butter and chocolate or almonds and chocolate, whatever the case may be, it is all found here. But you are known for one particular specific candy. All right, Sarah, tell me about it.
We are known for the Louisville candy, the Majeska. And so it actually originated in Louisville in the 1850s. It was called the Louisville Caramel Biscuit. And then a local candy maker, Anton Busath, saw Helena Majeska, who is a Polish immigrant who came to the United States and was an actress on the stage. And she played in Doll's House at Macaulay Theater on 4th Street. And he saw her, fell in love with her work, wrote her a letter after she left town asking if he could rename his confection after her. She wrote back and said, of course, sent a portrait of herself as a thank you. And that portrait hung in his store until 1947 when they had a fire. The portrait survived the fire, but the business did not. And so the Busath family was friends with the Muth family, and we shared our kitchen with them. At nighttime, they would use our kitchen to fulfill out the rest of their holiday orders, their family candy they wanted to make. And so Rudy used the kitchen during the day, the Busaths used it at night. And when they could not reopen on 4th Street, because back then that was the place to be, and if you weren't on 4th Street, there was no point to be in business. And so he gifted Rudy the Majeska recipe as a thank you for sharing his kitchen with him, since they were no longer going to be able to be in business and produce it.
Okay.
But the portrait hangs in the Filson Club in Old Louisville.
Oh, okay.
So it survived the fire.
So I'm reading between the lines here, but tell me I'm wrong, Sarah. Come on now. You know, you write poetry when you're in love. Making candy is going to that next level. If you have a candy named after you, he had a little bit of a crush on her. Is that safe to say?
I would say a crush. He was a married man. He had a family.
Okay, crush
so
is okay.
I think he had a crush.
He admired her.
He renamed his candy after her. He did not invent it for her, if that makes any difference.
It does. I think it does, but still, it's delicious regardless. If you have a sweet tooth and you have not had a Majeska, it is a different taste. It's not your average ordinary candy, and it is unique to right here in Louisville, right?
It is. It's a marshmallow covered in caramel, and we also chocolate cover it and roll it in pecans. So any variety that you want to give it a shot. I don't particularly care for marshmallows, and it's my favorite candy. So anyone can give it a shot, even if it doesn't sound like your kind of candy. I promise it's delicious.
It's certainly a Louisville original, but I think it's to me even more special because it is known, and I don't think I'm exaggerating here, worldwide. I mean, you send these out, you ship all over the globe, correct?
We do. Very heavily concentrated in the U.S., but we do. I have a regular customer in Australia. We have customers who send them overseas to family in Europe. So it's definitely made its way around the globe.
Wow. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess we wanted this, of course, to continue Muths, and I know it will. So little Blazins on the way that are going to take over?
There is a 5th generation, and they are all very little right now, but they are poised one day to, I'm sure, take this place to great places.
Okay, so 104 years, is it appropriate for me to say happy birthday to you? Is that appropriate?
Gladly.
Happy birthday to you. Congratulations. You are certainly, and Muths is certainly, a Louisville original. So the reason we're here, Sarah, is to experience the Majeska. Of course, we all want to taste it, but can you tell us a little bit about the process and let us take a look?
Gladly. If you want to go on back, we can make some. All of our cream centers, our jellies, our caramels, our Majeskas, our bourbons, all that stuff's made in this kitchen. We still use copper kettles. We use our original cookers. To make a Majeska, all of the ingredients go into a large copper kettle, and then that is put over a large fire with a mixer inserted. We do not cook to temperatures. We cook to consistency.
Very close, guys, very close. Well, I guess I've been making Majeskas, for about 3 years now. Candy as a whole just does not like extreme heat or humidity, for that matter.
There's all kinds of factors that go into candy. Temperature, temperature, humidity, the height of the flame even. Everything is kind of a variable, and because we're doing everything by hand, it's something you just have to get good at over many, many years. I know experienced candy makers who have spent years making caramel for Majeska, and they can still sometimes flub up a batch. It is placed into a table that has a built-in double boiler, and you have two individuals who will stand on opposite sides of that pot, and they will toss in a marshmallow and scoop it out with a utensil, and they do that about 550 times per batch, and sometimes there's upwards of 7 or 8 batches a day. I think we broke a record this year and did 9 in a day for Christmas.
Try to dip them as quickly as we can to get them out of the warmer kitchen, and we take them to our front staff up front who have the AC blasting today because it is so humid, to help cool our Majeskas down as quickly as possible, so that way they have a chance to set up properly, and that way the front staff can get them wrapped in their iconic wrap that they do.
And then we also chocolate cover those, which is becoming more and more popular for us. In the month of December of Majeskas alone, I believe it's north of 65,000 individual pieces, and that's just one of dozens of pieces of candy that we make.
You got the sweetness from the marshmallow and the caramel, but the caramel itself also just has a bite of saltiness to it, and it's honestly one of the greatest combinations of flavors that I've ever had.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
When you think about Kentucky originals in the food industry, you may think about a man by the name of Colonel Sanders. 11 Herbs and Spices, he did okay with Kentucky Fried Chicken. Well, another iconic brand is a Louisville original, and that is Derby Pie. We're all familiar with it, we all love it. And these guys, hey, it's a family business. With me now is Rebecca and Matt Roop. And it is a family business, and it is iconic. First of all, I guess we'll kick it off this way, Rebecca. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, it's been going on for quite some time. I think, and clarify for me, was it 1954?
Yes, 1954 is when the pie originated. It was actually the same year my dad was born, so we always knew how old the pie was based on how old my dad was. So.
And you can't talk about Derby Pie, Matt, without talking about your father. Alan Roop really took that famous recipe and grew it, much like Colonel Sanders and Governor John Y. Brown. They get together and they say, okay, we're going to franchise this. In your case, your dad was kind of the leader of, okay, we're going to make this bigger than anyone could imagine, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they went from making 4 pies in a home oven to now we've got 3 80 pie ovens running all year round. So it's quite the operation. He grew it immensely. So, and I kind of grew up seeing it grow as I grew up.
So if you would detail a little bit, Rebecca, about the history. From what I understand, Melrose Inn was involved. Talk to me about its beginnings and where it is now.
Sure. So Walter and Leandra Kern, our great-grandparents and great-uncle, George, they started at Melrose Inn. They were managing the Melrose Inn kitchen, and they wanted to come up with a signature dessert that they found unique and gave that homey feeling, like you're having grandma's fresh-baked pie. So they came up with the chocolate walnut pie that we have. After that, they couldn't decide on a name, so everybody put their name in a hat, and one evening they sat out on the Melrose front porch and drew Derby Pie out of a hat, and that's where it all started.
Wow, that name, I mean, really, a lot of people say it is all in a name at times, with a business and why it takes off, and it's catchy, and everyone knows about the excitement of Kentucky Derby. And correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but you cannot have a Derby party without a Derby pie, right?
It's essential.
It's
absolutely essential, yeah.
I agree with you. So was there an epiphany moment, Matt, where maybe they said, oh, we've got something here? Was there a number that perhaps you hit as far as manufacturing these pies that you go, okay, this is taking off, now we've got something that we can really grow?
Yeah, I think when we moved in to our first facility where we had a big 80 pie oven, things started to get serious. We started to get partnerships with Churchill Downs and local restaurants, and it was really just taking off throughout the city and becoming a Derby tradition. So
I'm glad you brought that up, Matt, because I think it's interesting. When you say Derby Pie, you guys have relationships that are directly related to the Derby. You mentioned Churchill Downs, of course, the Kentucky Derby Festival. Talk about the importance of that and how those partnerships help you grow, Rebecca.
Having those true relationships is just very big in growing our industry, and just being present at those events and being present at Churchill Downs during the Derby, and they'll serve 25,000 slices of just Derby pie during that season. So it's just something really big that we enjoy, building those relationships and being authentic and having those great relationships with our partners, and just continuing that throughout the years.
It's something I think all Louisvillians are very proud of. When we have Derby guests in, it's like, you have to have a Derby pie, and you have to have the real thing Derby pie, because there is a difference. Before we talk about that, this may be a tough subject for both of you, Becca, Matt. Your father. I get a little choked up, and he's not my father, because he is someone that I think Louisville absolutely loved and was proud of the fact that not only did he have this fantastic product, but he was an ambassador for Louisville. Talk a little bit, Matt, if you would, about his legacy.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we're still kind of struggling through that, but excited to kind of continue his legacy here at Derby Pie. But yeah, he was just a man of Kentucky. He loved Louisville, he loved the state, he loved all the traditions here in town. Anywhere he went, he connected with people and kind of just helped continue Kentucky's story. Whether he was at the Bristol Bar and Grill grabbing a drink, or down at the Brown Hotel, he was always about Kentucky. So yeah, we miss him immensely.
Oh, he was so charismatic. He drew people to him, which is great to draw. To me, if you're creating a brand and you want it to grow, that's the kind of guy. He's the front man, and you two also. I can tell. It's in your DNA. You're very passionate about it. Yes. Let's talk about numbers, because I think it's impressive that you ship all over the country. Talk about how much your company in Derby Pie has grown, Rebecca.
Immensely. So like Matt said before, we went from making, great grandma would make 2 to 4 a day, to now to making 12 a day, to 24 a day, and now we're making 18 to 2,400 a day. So that does really amp up during Derby season. We can do about 50,000 just during that Derby season. That's our big season, but we do, that's just a small portion of what we do throughout the year. So it's grown from one oven baking 4 pies at a time to 3 ovens baking 80 pies at a time.
Whoa. So, Matt, I'm interested in this, because when I say your dad was an ambassador, obviously the two of you remain ambassadors of Louisville. You give back as well. We talked before the cameras came on, and you mentioned sending pies to troops, et cetera. The brand extends beyond the table, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, we love the city. We love to represent the city. So we love to give back to the community as well. A lot of times when we overbake or underbake something, we can't necessarily sell those, but they're still delicious to eat, and so we'll donate those. We've got a lot of charities in town that we love to support. Apron was a charity that my dad really loved and supported, so we continue to support them.
I love that. Yeah. I absolutely love that. So now let's talk a little bit about what separates a Derby pie from your average chocolate, walnut, chocolate, pecan. First of all, I think the walnuts are important, because that's indigenous to Kentucky and Louisville specifically. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about the ingredients. I know it's a lot like the Colonel. You can't give me the secret, but there is something, and I can't identify it, which you're probably happy that I cannot, that makes a Derby pie more delicious than anything anyone can make in their own kitchen.
I think the biggest thing is we make our own dough. So we still got that homey grandma rolling the dough, that individuality of pressing and making our own dough in-house. I think that crispy, just flaky crust is so important, and that's what we pride ourselves on as well, is having that dough. That's a big thing too.
And even though we're baking so much more now, it's a hands-on process. We're still cracking our own eggs. We hand sort our own walnuts. We take great pride in putting out a quality product, and that doesn't change just because we make more of them now. So
I think a topic that's interesting for not just you at Kern's Kitchen and Derby Pie, but I think anyone who is in a business, is protecting your brand. Imitation, obviously, the most sincere form of flattery. We all know that cliche, but it is. Everyone tries to duplicate what you do, and I know it was important to your father, and it should be, and I know it is important to you. Talk about, if you would, Matt, perhaps you could tell me about protecting the brand and the importance of that.
Yeah, it's very important. Like any company, you want to protect your own interests, and I mean, Derby Pie is a special thing in Kentucky and Louisville, and started with our family, and it's a registered trademark. So we're the only ones that can make a pie and call it Derby Pie, and so we do need to protect that. But yeah, like you said, it is kind of a flattering thing that people would try to replicate it, but just from a business perspective, that's something that we need to protect, and we always tell people to, they can make anything they want, just don't call it Derby pie, and leave that to the professionals. So.
Yeah, exactly right. Leave that to the people who originated it and continue to grow that audience and people who love Derby pie. What is the vision at this point? Rebecca, you're the president. I'm curious, when you think about 10 years down the road, what do you and Matt, how do you envision Kern's Kitchen and Derby pie growing?
I think continuing that authenticity that my dad built, that was very important to him. So continuing to be our authentic selves and keeping the pie and the tradition alive. There's a lot of history here, but there's also a lot of tradition that we want to continue. 10 years down the road, we want to still be making and bringing everybody, bring the pie to the people and have everybody have that pillar of Kentucky still at their table.
It's one of the points of pride. We talk about, being, the home of bourbonism and bourbon tourism and all that. But Derby pie has that also. It connects me to Louisville. If I am, and I can be in any grocery store in the country and see Derby pie, which is fantastic the way it's grown, and I'm proud of that, and I can't imagine how proud you are. So there's one thing left to do here. First of all, I'm going to end it like we started it. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for
And then can we try this pie?
Absolutely.
We could probably grab a slice for you, yeah.
Ooh, I love that. All right, here we go. This is the fun part of the interview. All right, this is what I've been waiting for, okay? I said, I'm not going to visit Kern's Kitchen and not enjoy some Derby pie. So do you prefer, I don't mind if it's cold, warm. What's the correct way to serve this?
Yeah, we think the best way to serve it is oven warmed. But to be honest, I like it anyway. I like to eat it like a candy bar slice, frozen as well. So, but oven warmed with a little whipped cream, I think is the best way to eat Derby pie.
Okay, I don't think this is your first rodeo. I would imagine you guys have tasted quite a few Derby pies, but will you partake with me?
Absolutely.
So I can say that I had Derby pie with one of the family members, with two of the family members, the Roops, Rebecca and Matt, and so this is kind of this will make it even more memorable. But I've got a feeling the taste is what's going to do it for me here. There's nothing like it. The walnuts, everything mixes perfectly, doesn't it? Just a little subtle. There's nothing that overwhelms any other flavor. That chocolate hits you just right. When you talk about bourbon, you talk about, on the back, they say on the back end, that smooth chocolate with the walnut on the back end, that chocolate just kind of eases it all down.
It balances out for sure.
And I did want to mention this. Derby pie is the official pie of the Kentucky Derby Festival, right?
Yes, yes. We have a long-standing partnership with them.
That is a big deal.
Great relationship, yeah.
Again, congratulations, and thank you so much for having a little pie with me. That's a southern, that's a
Thank you.
southern
Thanks for coming
hospitality
by.
thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep. So it's a secret recipe. So we've got a curtain that goes all the way around the mixing room. So the production manager is the only one allowed in there. So can't go in there. So we hand sort all our own walnuts just to make sure there's only walnuts going into the pie. When you get something with nuts in it and on the packaging it says may contain shell pieces, well, they don't sort through their walnuts. So that's why we sort through to make sure that you're getting a quality product. It's a little tedious, but especially now that we make a lot more pies, but it's definitely worth it. So this is the fill going in the pie after it's gone through the secret recipe in the curtained room. And Jeremiah here is filling the pies, and then we'll put them right in the oven. So this is our original oven that we started with, our first 80 pie oven, and now we have 3 of them. We can take a look inside and see what's going on. So these are just starting out. So we'll have to come back here in a few minutes and see how they're doing. And this is our newest oven. You can see these are a little bit further along. Smells good. So this is an oven change. Taking out the freshly baked pies and putting in the new oven to bake. So this is a rotary oven, so the shells just rotate to get a nice even bake. This is where we package everything up. So we take a look, make sure everything looks good. Looks good to me. This here. We run it through a laser dater and straight through the shrink wrap machine. And there you have it. That's the final product. And then we just put it in the box. We fill these up and put them in the big freezer and ship them all over the country.
What a fantastic name, Derby Pie. But for a while it was a little up in the air on what to name this delicious pie. With me now is another member of the family, the Root family. This is Ann. Okay, Ann, tell me a little bit about how finally the decision was made. Derby Pie is the name.
Well, they were sitting around one evening and they had to come up with a name for the signature dessert for Melrose Inn where it started. And they all put a name in a hat, and Derby Pie was the one that came out.
Can you help me a little bit with maybe some of the other choices? Obviously, you made the right choice, but were there other names that maybe were in the running that, okay, but not quite Derby Pie?
I think there was a Finish Line Pie, maybe the Melrose Pie, but I think they picked the right one. I think it was just fate.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. There's no question about it. You mentioned something to me, and I have to bring it up. When I walked in the door, it's like, oh, it smells so good. And you said you never get used to it. That to you every day it means something to you. Talk to me about that.
Well, every morning I walk in and I smell that pie baking, and it just smells like Grandma's kitchen. It smells like my mom and my grandmother and all the love that they had for their family, and that was how they showed their love. You know, they cooked for the family, and so every morning I walk in and I feel their love.
Ah, so that's the secret ingredient of Derby Pie. A little bit of love?
A little bit of love, a lot of love.
Lot of love.
A lot of love, a lot of family.
So there we go. There's the secret ingredient. A lot of love. And it does not have to be Derby time. It doesn't have to be the first week in May for you to participate and enjoy Derby Pie in your home.